Hi there, this is Kathy with Be Creative with Kathy, and so today's video I'm going to show you, this is my mountain air class. I did it in June 2020, and I've already done a video on this one. You can find that on my blog or on my YouTube channel. Again, that's Be Creative with Kathy. And so in today's video, I'm going to show you how I made these two cards. All the measurements are on my blog. Once again, that's becreativewithkathy.com. So if I forget to tell you a measurement or the size of a cardstock or what I used, you can go see all of that. And it's at the bottom of the pictures before the videos. But somewhere in there you can find it if you click on this class. Okay, so I've done some cutting before. We have our two card bases here, Pacific Point and Balmy Blue. I have two Whisper White pieces for the inside, a Balmy Blue for the front of this card, and then I have all of these little pieces here. So let me tell you what I did to get, there we go, all of these pieces. This here is a piece of crumb cake that is 5 1/4 by 4, just your normal card layer. And then I took the stitched rectangle framelits and I just cut the center out with the rectangle framelit, and then I ran it through the wood plank embossing folder. Now you'll notice this card is the weaved, I think this was called the weaved embossing folder, but you can't get that anymore. So I wanted to do a card that you can still get all the supplies, and I think the plank folder looks pretty good as a frame. Okay, and then these two pieces here, the mountains, well, I guess they're 5 pieces here, are all cut out with the dies. Let me show, oops, my dies are sticking to my magnets on my Stamparatus. So there's 2 of the trees like this that cut out all these little delicate trees like this, and there's 2 in the stamp sets or the framelit, so you can do it 2 at a time, which is pretty nice. The mountains is what I used to cut out these 2. And then the tree line edgelet is what I use to cut out those. Okay, then also I keep a couple pieces with my die set. Now this is thick Whisper White, and it's like a template, so I have, it goes this way, so I have one of the mountains, which I've thrown across the room, and one with the tree line. Now I took my tree line on this piece. I wanted my template, and it goes this way, to be a little bit longer, so I just cut out the tree line like this and then took my paper snips and cut a piece, so it's just a little bit longer than the actual stamp set, and I'll show you why I did that. Okay, so and what I'm going to use these 2 pieces for, let's move all this aside, meet the cards so you can see them, is we're going to use our Stamparatus. Since we're going to make 2 cards and we need to use the stamp set quite a bit, I'm going to go ahead and set up all the pieces on my Stamparatus. So I have the base of my Stamparatus, 1 plate, the I think this is called the Deluxe Foam Mat, and my 2 magnets. Here's one and here's the other, is back here in the storage. We'll need both of those. So if you take your templates now, and I'm going to set this one here and use the magnet to hold him, but then I'm going to reinforce it with just a little bit of duct tape. And now my duct tape is really pretty if you go to Office Depot, and of course if I find something on sale, and that's, I found the fancy duct tape on sale, but that way I hold that down. Now that's not going to move for sure. And then put my magnet over here, set this one down, right, and I'm going to reinforce him with some tape too, because I don't want him to move. So I'm going to put some tape here, and you can see I take the tape on and off. Now it tears up my paper a little bit, but it doesn't seem to hurt my template, and then I can just use them again and again. So there, now it's all ready. So then when you take your pieces, and we're going to start, oh wait, I want to put this over here on the edge to kind of hold that down too. Okay, then this fits in there, right? And the green, this is garden green piece that I cut, fits perfect in there. So now with my stamp set, I'm going to take those two pieces, the mountains, and lay them there. And then the tree line, make sure that's in place, and lay that there. Now I'm going to tilt this up so I can see it to make sure that my pieces are lined up where I want them. This one, whoop. There, so I think that looks pretty good. Then make sure I have my bone folder handy, because when you close this, especially with the photopolymer, they tend to stick to everything. So with the bone folder here holding that tape down, it'll keep my templates where I want them. And now I know where my stamp is going to stamp. I hope that makes sense. That's what's great about the Stamparatus. Now I'm going to use my stamp set under here just to make this level. That way when you ink it up, it's a nice level surface. I want to stamp these mountains. Let me put that, make sure this is in the right spot again. There we go. And this is right. Okay, I want to stamp the mountains in soft suede, so I'm going to do soft suede ink on soft suede paper or cardstock. And then I'm going to do garden green. And you know what? This is the wrong piece. I want to use the Pear Pizzazz piece for this card. Make sure I have the right one in there. There, that's better. Whew, almost messed that one up. So then we're going to do garden green on Pear Pizzazz on this piece. So I'm going to ink this up good. That's already inked up good. And then I'm going to lay it down on my pieces here. I'm going to even drop it. And then make sure I get my corners and my middles and my edges, and just apply a little bit of pressure. And let's see what happens now if I got it inked up good, if I need to do it again. Yeah, see, so in this one down here, I'm gonna take my tree line and ink it up again. I think my mountains are okay. I'm gonna leave them as is, but I'm gonna put some more ink down here on my tree line. And since my cardstock didn't move, or if it did, I could put it back into place. It was gonna stamp perfect. Well, except for probably because this magnet is in the way. Let me get this corner down here. But now it should be, there we go. Now it looks really good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take those two pieces out and put my ink away, because now I'm going to clean this up with my chamois. Got my chamois wet here, and I'm going to just clean the ink off of the mountain stamp here and clean the green off of the tree line. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Put my chamois away. Now I'm going to bring in some Versamark. I want to stamp Versamark ink on my Night of Navy mountain and on now that garden green tree line. So I'm gonna put those where they go in my little templates. Take that Versamark and I'm gonna ink my stamps up really well. A little bit of ink here. Okay, then when I shut that plate, making sure my card pieces are where I want them. Apply some pressure. Now Versamark is a clear ink that remains sticky, and that way when you add the embossing powder, it sticks to where the Versamark is. So let's see how we did. This one needs to go again. Let's see if our trees are, or our mountains okay. Okay, nope, we're gonna have to do both of them again. Make sure this one's back where it needs to go. I'm gonna ink up and apply one more coat of ink, a little bit more pressure on this one and this one. Oh, I could see the ink sink in that time. Okay, get that bone folder in there. No, my trees, because I'm gonna take this magnet off. Line my tree up again and put some more pressure right there on my tree. There we go. Now Yes, now, no, I have one more spot. Doggone it. Let me get this one spot down here with my tree line. Make sure it's nice and covered. There we go. Now I'm happy. So I'm going to set this aside, and now with clear embossing powder, and I like to keep my embossing powder in little tubs like this. I'm going to coat that Versamark ink with a little bit of clear embossing powder. Flick off some extras, and then when you bring in your heat tool, two clicks. Now a heat tool has the settings, two settings on it. One setting is just to dry things, I guess you would say, and the second setting is super hot to melt the embossing powder, because embossing powder is just flakes of plastic that we need to melt again. And when you see it start to turn shiny, let my gun get warm here. There it goes. You can see all that embossing powder melt again and turn clear. So it looks like, turn it over and get this side. And then just run that along. So then you have a tree line that looks like that. Oops, I put it too far up. Looks like that. And then we're going to bring in the mountains and some white emboss powder and coat the mountains with a little bit of white emboss powder. And I'm trying to just touch the edges and not the ink. Flicked a little bit off the back by tapping the back. Get the ink off there. Now I can hold one side while I melt the plastic of the embossing powder on the other side. And you'll see as it starts to turn shiny, and it should go faster now that there it's starting to turn. There you can see it go. And it turns white again. Go this route. And now you have mountains that are white and blue. Is that not pretty? Okay, so let's put the stamparatus away. We're all done with that. And let those kind of cool down. They're pretty hot right now. I'm gonna bring in a piece of paper to protect my surface. Now this is the piece from this one here, so I want to put these little clouds on there, and my mountains are going to be about there. So with balmy blue ink, and I've already got my clouds mounted on my clear block for my stamp set, I'm going to just stamp those. Oh, and I should have my stamp and pierce mat, but it looks like they're going to be okay without it. But just randomly stamp those, and I want this one behind the mountain, so to look about like, let's see how no, I think I want one more right here, and it might be covered up, but I'd rather have a little bit of it peeking out than not there at all. Okay, then with just a little bit of stamp and seal, I'm going to put my mountains flat onto my balmy blue piece here. So it looks like that. Then with this piece and a couple of dimensionals, and I'm going to use mini dimensionals so I can get it close to the edge of these little tree line here. And then one in the tummy and a couple in the corners. I should say center, one in the center. I have a bad habit of calling the center of my die cut my tummy because I don't like my tummy to sag. Oh, and you know what, before I put that down, let's go ahead and put this on our card so we can tape on a nice flat piece rather than on a piece that's been bumped up. Oh, and look, I just ran out of tape. That's nice. Let's bring in our Seal It Plus, and we'll just use that one for now till I get a refill put into that one. And our Pacific Point. My bone folder. And I'm going to center this on these two pieces here. Like that. Now take the rest of these papers off of this piece. My Pear Pizzazz that has the garden green tree line stamped on it and die cut. And then put that, let's say, about there. Now, depending how far you cut the paper, it's going to be different every time. You might have a bigger border here, you might have a smaller border here, but in my eyes, they all look really good, and that is straight, so I want to make sure on that one. Now, with these itty bitty dimensionals, no, I'm going to use this piece here. I'm going to take my paper snips and just trim this little piece of dimensional right here and put this on the tip here of my black piece of tree. Then just take a little bit of seal, stamp and seal, and run that, because we're going to cover that up so it won't be sticky through your card. We're going to cover that up with the C. And I'm going to just, oop, I forgot to take the dimensional paper off, the release paper off of that, and lay this right here. So this will be flat on your tree line, and this piece up here will be popped up like that. So let's go ahead and make the C. So with the Real Red circle, which is 2 1/4 inches, did I tell you that already? I punched out with the 2 1/4 inch circle punch. I'm going to make him look like Pac-Man, and I want to just take a little bit more. He needs a little bit bigger mouth. So I want to make him look like Pac-Man. And then with a little bit of adhesive, I'm going to lay this circle, and hopefully I didn't get too much. No, I did just right. And lay that inside there. And then look, now we have our Colorado C. And then with just a little bit more Seal It, I'm going to take him and lay him right over our tree like that. So let's do some stamping now. So now we need to stamp our greeting. So let's bring in the scrap of Whisper White and some Pacific Point. And then I'm going to use the Itty Bitty Birthday stamp and this stamp that says awesome at any age. Mount that on the block. And then I'm gonna just stamp, let's see, I got them stamped, inked up pretty good, right here on my cardstock. Hold it down to let the ink sink in just a little bit. That's good, so I'm gonna put this away. And then with some paper snips, I'm gonna just fussy cut that awesome out. Oops, dropped my paper. It doesn't take too long just to trim. There we go. And then a couple of glue dots. And put that right here at the base of our tree line, just like that. So there's one card almost finished. Let's bring this piece in here and these two pieces back in. So now I want to layer these two pieces onto this for this card. We'll work on this card now. So I'm going to put some adhesive. Let's see which side. You know, I think I want it to be like this. So I'm going to take the back and just put some Stamp and Seal right here. Lay this down, and about in the center, I'm going to just lay that right there. Then I'm going to do the same thing. No, I'm going to have to use glue dots because that Stamp and Seal, or let's just refill let me just take a second, I'm sorry, and refill my Stampin' Seal so I don't have to use my Stampin' Seal Plus. Okay. Take my Stampin' Seal. Take the old one. You just pop the case off like this. It doesn't take long. Take this piece. This piece is all trash. Bring in the new one. Slip it in there so that the holes line up with the little pegs. And there, now we're good to go. Snap it together. Now we don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay, then I'm gonna lay this piece on the table here and lay this one on top. And you know what? I did it backwards. We'll see if I can get this one off. I want to do the tree line first. What was I thinking? We're going to lay the tree line like this. There we go. Now we want to do the mountains. Yeah, quick fix there. And then lay the mountains about there. Then take this. Okay, there's not enough tape on here. Because I took it off. Turn this over. Lay this one this way, right here on top. There, now it's working. Well, is it working? Why can't I get it to... Now it's stuck to my tabletop. Well, the seal, it does work. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to just trim down these ends here. And this end over here, like that. And then I'm going to cover this with dimensionals. And now we can put dimensionals along this to hold these two in place. A few dimensionals down here. And it looks like all I have in my table here is little dimensionals. Big dimensionals would have been a lot easier. Maybe I'll put one here too, just to hold that piece onto my frame. And then one up here in the corner. It's gonna take forever to get these little papers off, huh? Okay. Get all those little release papers off. There we go. Bring in our balmy blue. Thank goodness in the video you can fast forward, so you can fast forward through all that nonsense and taking all those little release papers off. And I'm going to lay this down so it's centered on the front of our card base, just like that. So then we need to bring in the little birds in the corner, and we're going to use that soft suede ink that we used for the mountains before, and just ink up the itty bitty birds and stamp those right here in the corner. There. So all we need now is the insides and the greeting. So let's go ahead and do the inside of our card. I'm going to bring in my pierce mat so I can stamp excuse me, on the pierce mat. Open that garden green again. This is a stamp set, the trees from the stamp set, a stamp from the trees, and I'm going to just stamp it once and then twice, like that, and do the same thing on the other card. Oh, bless me. That's funny, right in the middle of a video. Rats. I'm going to stamp once and then twice. And then bring those little birds back in again. Right there. Now those are ready for the inside of our card. A little bit of stamp and seal right there. Nope, this must be the new one. On the inside. Isn't that pretty, that little mountain scene right there? And then the same thing on the other card. And then last but not least, this one needs a happy birthday sentiment. So with the itty bitty birthdays again, I'm gonna bring in this happy birthday. Put it on the block. Bring in the Versamark with my scrap of espresso cardstock. Let the ink sink in. And the Whisper White, I think it's just plain old white embossing powder. Kind of knock off that extra. Okay. And the heat tool, I'm gonna hold this with my scissors this way and just melt that embossing powder on there. There we go. I almost had the ink pointing the wrong way. Okay. And then just fussy cut that like I did the awesome. Couple dimensionals on the back of that. No, on second thought, I think I want glue dots. I think I'm going to just put a couple glue dots. It'll be a nice, easy to mail with a lot of depth to my card. But lots of character with all those different layers. Yeah, and then put that right there. And there you go. So that's how I made these last two cards of my card class. If you ever have any questions, you're more than welcome to send me a message, an email, ask me questions. I'll try to answer them. All the measurements and all the products are on my blog, Be Creative with Kathy. Thank you for watching and hope you make some nice Colorado cards. Bye-bye.